Welcome everyone to Esther's Table with Melissa and Chelsea. And we're going to dive in today to something very interesting because we've been studying the names of God and we're adding in 6 new names, most of which we've heard of. Mm-hmm. These are more the popular ones. So the ones previously you can check out, but these are the ones that are so applicable to everything and in every situation, which is the beauty of what we've been studying, is that these names are so powerful and how they can be applied to your season. And sometimes it's just 1 or 2 names that you just know this is who God is and this is who he is for me. And I believe that as we study those names, you're going to find throughout the seasons of your life, throughout this journey, he's just going to be so dominant in that one area. And you're going to know because you know who he is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think even some of the names we've done, I have brought up multiple times now in situations. I'm like, God, this is your name. This is who you are. And I just keep repeating that into these situations. And even this morning, I was praying through all of the names that we've gone through and just declaring who God is out loud. He already knows it, but it's for me to remind my soul again, who I'm following, who I believe in, where I stand firm in something, especially with any attack or anything. You have to stand firm, but what are you standing firm on? And this is what we're standing firm on, is in this. And the reason why we're going to be wrapping these up, and I want to say this in the beginning too, is we're about to lead into some really cool episodes talking about counterfeit, talking about witchcraft and manipulation, because we are living in a world that we're going to not even know what's real at some point, but God is real. And in knowing who he is and knowing these names, we can walk into these episodes also knowing this is what we're not comparing, but going against this is the counterfeit. This is what we already know.
Right.
And so I do think it was really important for us to learn and know and establish foundation so we can understand as we go into the next couple episodes, what counterfeit looks like, because a lot of people, a lot of believers are in witchcraft and counterfeit beliefs. And this is why this is so important.
Yeah, no, I think you're putting a light, who God is, to a dark place. And it's going to give us new eyes to see and some new ears to hear. And it's just aligning our hearts to his. And I think it can be so simple, but yeah, it's true. It's exactly true. All right. So let's kind of jump into the first one. Great.
Do I go out?
Yeah.
Do it?
Jehovah Mekoddishkem, the Lord who sanctifies you.
I want to say it too, because I'm like, I think it's so long. It's Jehovah Mekoddishkem.
Yes.
Right? Mekoddishkem.
The Lord who sanctifies you.
Yep.
So this means that God sets us apart for his purposes. Sanctification isn't about striving. It's about his spirit making us holy. So I took that as such an applicable name to who God has taught me who he is in my last season. And so when I went back, I almost realized, like, you're in it and you go through so much of this journey of shedding and undoing and healing, and you don't realize sometimes how far you've come. And when you take a moment to actually look at all God has done in you and through you, you realize, whoa, like, Lord, you did heal me and protect me from all these things. And so that name to me, the Lord who sanctifies you, it's about setting us apart. And I felt hidden for a very long time because I had to go through these things hidden. I had to go through the shedding of the lies and belief systems and understanding in the secret place until I was ready. And he pushed me out and he was like, okay, you're ready. Go, come out. And as soon as I went out, the first test I remember thinking was, don't let me go back to my old ways, my old self, which was striving and building and grinding and just being exhausted and burned out. And you can see it and you can begin to feel it. But then when you know that God is this, he sanctified me, that you don't want that to ever go away. you don't want his presence to ever leave you. So all of a sudden you get tempted to be like, okay, let's build a new business. Let's start adding all these things back into my plate because I want to tell the world like who God is and what he has for them. And the moment that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, my whole week is filled up. And he's like, did I tell you to do it that way? He's like, no, come to me, draw near to me, and I will give you the one for today, not for the week, but for today. And so I just thought about that as a name and just allowing me to ask the question, what areas of my life do I feel God is calling me to live differently in? And that was a question he asked me specifically, like, where do I feel set apart? And where has he called me to live it out differently than the world? And right away, I remember him telling me, like, it's going to look really different for you than your friends. And don't compare yourself to your friends. I have you in a different path. And initially that's like awful because you have to beat out all the feelings of being set apart, especially when your worthiness was based around, you know, your abandonment and rejection. And so all of a sudden he was like, no. I set you apart for a reason. Now go in there with confidence that you are set apart for a reason. And I want you to love them, not to like leave them and transition differently, but knowing that there's a different calling on your life than the rest is like a key note. And when he started teaching me how I was set apart, you do become more confident in your calling and your purpose because you're like, oh, I see why you want me to help women who are brokenhearted and help set them free. And so if I've been with the same group all my life and I'm only surrounded by the same little bubble, how am I actually helping build kingdom on earth? And he was like, I need you to get away so you can go reach those that don't know me. And that was the first real test. Like, am I going to go back to like my old self and like play it safe? Or are you going to allow me to step into the uncomfortable and trust the process to which you're going to get there? And he was so good about being so loud and comfortable with his presence that it felt so safe to go outside the lines and be the name that he has called that name. The Mekoddishkem.
I like that version of it.
I just really, truly, the Lord who sanctifies, he sanctified me in that season. And just spending time this week with him, that's what he reminded me of. And I was like, oh, you must forget. Don't let me forget that. That's a rock. That's like one of those firm foundation moments that I don't want to forget.
What would you define holy as?
Holy?
Yeah. What's holy to you? I want to like.
Okay. Ask me in a new way. Are you saying the word holy or what, how are you using the word holy?
In this way, being sanctified is to be made holy. So what is that? What would you define that? Because sanctified, I have to keep reminding myself, like we grew up in this. We know these words. We know what they mean, even if we don't even know how to explain that sometimes. But I'm just thinking, like, they're big words that we can make more applicable to people.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to be holy?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying against the world. I'm saying against like who, I know God is holy, but how does he set us apart? Make us holy.
Yeah. I think you said, I think as you asked that too, I immediately think of the word purified. And I think in the set apart of being hidden, he had to, like, I envision the temple, and in this, there's rooms, right? And you had to purify your heart and be made holy to even be in the presence of glory. And so I think that for me, being hidden was the purification process of being holy, being a bride ready to meet her groom. And in it was just the weight you carry that you're not even realizing you're carrying. The things, the lies for years and years, you literally have come into agreement with.
Yeah.
And it's been normal and it's been safe to say that's what I believed. But then all of a sudden the Lord like adds in a new teaching, or he adds a verse, and it totally is different for you. And because of the way your outside life is, he kind of breaks you to a point of being broken to then be able to see. And so in the brokenness, he cleans you up. And I believe that's the holiness that comes over you is once you shed and you remain in that purification. And it could take a while. I would say my journey took like a year and a half of being set apart, being hidden.
For sure. It does. I totally believe it's not an overnight thing.
No. And a lot of people that I, talk with, that's kind of what they've said too. It can take a while. It's really what God has to do in you. And so then I would say you meet this moment of feeling, and it's between you and the Lord. So everyone's is different. But for me, I walked in then to the throne room and I remember just being like, there you are, and this sounds so nuts. And I can't even believe I'm actually saying this, but
say it. I love being weird for Jesus.
I know. Well, there is a moment he took me into a space where I went through that for at least a year. This was probably a year and a half, right around the year and a half point. And he said, stand up and dance with me. And I had this vision of Jesus being in a groomman's suit, like a suit, like you would get married in, a groom would be married in. And he had me dance with him. And in it was like, I could feel Jesus and the way he held me and the way he kissed me and the way he loved me. It was that you are ready. You're my bride who's ready. And in it was like, all right, you've already gone through the process and now you have been sanctified and been set apart for this reason. Now go. It was like that, like come out of the closet and go. You've met your groom. Now you have each other. Go. And
that's not weird.
It was.
That does sound crazy.
I was making it very PG, but it was like that. It was like, I was like,
you could feel it.
Love was so overwhelming. It was so overwhelming. And so in that moment, it was beautiful, but that's where I would say the sanctification happened.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. What about
that's
you?
What I was wondering about like this, because I think I don't know. I just have to be careful to be clear about what it is, because this is a very beautiful thing, but it's a very clear thing too when it comes to being made holy and set apart. Like you said, it takes time and it's not overnight. And if it is, that is legalistic, what you're doing, if it's overnight in some way, unless it's a God-given, holy mark on you, but we've done so much in this life already. You have to almost step and remove these things off of us to be made holy. Like you said, the temple, they would have to come in to sacrifice and do incense. And these are people who are even going to make it into the temple. You had to be a priest and literally be anointed to go in. And some of these priests would die just going behind and experiencing it. And they could only go once a year into this hall.
Yeah.
It's profound to just think how, like, you couldn't touch the Ark of the Covenant if you weren't anointed to do that. God, that's the same God. He is so holy. He is so opposite of us in this world. But this name comes up in Exodus 48, and it's a sign that between the Lord and his children throughout generations. So it's for them, it was to be made holy, because this era of time, it was a constant battle. It just reminds me of having little kids, honestly, because it's a constant battle of them constantly choosing every other God besides God, doing every other thing besides the God, like commanded them.
Yeah.
And he's like, you are my people. You need to be holy and set apart to have this relationship. It is not a mean thing. It is essential in terms of that relationship. And so it's cool that it was the whole thing of being able to be sanctified from the Lord, and this idea of generationally how we could do this for our children too, what you're doing for your family, being set apart, hearing the Lord and obeying what the Lord wants you to do instead of what you want to do, following his commandments. You're setting yourself apart and your children to be able to receive that. generationally too.
Yeah.
And so it talks about it too in Leviticus, but it's not, I don't know if it's fully the name, but it's talking about like the Lord who sanctifies. It's Leviticus 20, and it's consecrate yourself and keep my commandments and perform them. And so it's saying, you're setting yourself apart, like do what I'm telling you to do. Stop killing people and lying and doing all these things. And those are extreme, but it's also our thoughts, how we handle conversations, forgiveness. All the things he's telling us to do is living a lighter life, a better life. Even if you don't believe in God, even if you followed everything in the Bible, you would live a better life, less, pressures and anxiety and self, even if you just followed the basics. And so I think it's interesting that he's saying, keep my commandments and perform them. Like, do it. Do the actions. It's saying, I sanctify you, but in your actions, do you find sanctification and find holiness? Because he can't just be like you're holy when you have sin in your life. It's just not going to happen. You're not holy, and that's that process of what you're talking about. That's why it takes time to speak it out and confess it. Even things you're holding on to, beliefs, lies, messages that are anything that's not of the Bible, like what God's saying, is opposite. So it's saying you have to remove that, like cleaning out your house, go through every room and clean out and make it so that there's space for Holy Spirit to come in and make the fruits of the Spirit and holiness come out of us.
I just heard something you're saying the other day about God gives us faith. Really is, you hear something that he has told you in scripture, and great, you heard it, you undid it, you repented. Now you're walking it out, but it's walking it out. It's actually taking action and using the principle that is applied for faith to happen. So if you're asking God to do something, it's great, you're purified, but he told me to come out of hiding. He told me to go. And if I don't apply the principle, then faith is actually really not there, and I'm still in my flesh.
Yeah.
And
disobedience.
Right. And I've died to myself. So he's giving us these principles. He's using these commands that you just said to apply them and use them and live in them. So if I'm saying, God, give me more peace, he's giving me more peace. Now, every time something happens, Lord, give me peace right now in my mind. I'm applying that in faith because you told me that you're going to do this, that you gave it to me. So it's actually applying this because you've been already set apart to be able to receive this great gift. So now using them and applying that principle to make action happen.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that this isn't earning your faith in earning holiness. It's saying he's asking us to set ourselves apart because we already are. We already are given the name, son, daughter, child of a king. So we already are set apart. We are living out of a lie if we are not living in that. So by doing that, and honestly, I was having this conversation yesterday with a friend, and she listens, so she's gonna hear this and laugh. But it was just idea of, I said, it's so interesting, how I could never, at this point in my faith, I could never turn away from Jesus. Not one thing would get me, like, it really isn't. I'm so I don't know, like, I'm just captured by just the presence and the beauty and the relationship and the lightness and the trust I have in him. But I said, it's funny now, there's things that I used to do that I can't even, and it's not bad things. I would never even judge or condemn a single person on any of these things, but there's certain shows I cannot watch.
Oh yeah.
There's just certain music. I can't listen to.
Music is my thing.
I barely listen. I only listen to what I listen to or podcasts because I just literally it stings. I said, it stings me. I feel it. And that is the good work of the Lord cleaning out. I had to be the one to stop doing certain things for him to have space to work in those areas that I was giving to other things. And she was saying, she's like, besides sports, I feel exactly the same. Music and that, and I don't even want it. I don't even want it. And it's so, but could I say that a bunch of years ago? No, those are the shows or the movies and things I would watch with not even a thought. And so that's why I don't judge, because it is a process, and you can call upon the name of the Lord in this way, because that's who he is.
Yeah.
And he will do the good work in you, but you do have to do the work of also saying no to things.
Yeah.
And walking
Applying
out
it.
your faith. Yeah. Applying it. And that's what he's saying is you do set yourself apart. Like, you don't just get to sit there and I make you holy, but yeah. So I do think it's really cool to see how you can look back and not even notice the holiness being had there, because also on the flip side, I don't want to find any pride in self-righteousness and thinking that, oh, I'm holy, because
it's humility.
It's humility in it, and just knowing, but it's sweet of the Lord to remind me by even having something come up and then being like, oh, I don't like that. Like, and it's nothing against anything, but even hearing music that it's not by choice in certain environments. And I'm like, I am attuned to, like, I am hearing it. And there's like, even I went to this gym prior to where I'm at now. So I hate on in my gym now, and there would be music that I'd be like, I'm so like, they wouldn't play any bad music, whatever, but even hearing the lyrics of it, I'm like, this is what's getting poured into our youth, our life.
Yeah.
And we're just, oh, this is catchy. And you do it. And again, that's why I'm saying there's no judgment, but it's interesting that if you do not have eyes to see it or ears to hear it, you're not gonna.
Yeah.
And that is how we are fed. We are fed this way. So if you're trying to be holy, it's kind of like, again, you're trying to, look a certain way in terms of being healthy, and then you just eat garbage. You're not going to be healthy.
Yeah.
You're just not. Whatever you put in your mouth is what you get often with your body.
Yep.
Yes, you can work out and do these other things, go to church and read your Bible and all stuff. But if you're not also saying, okay, I got to move out of this, I got to start eating, the good whole food in order to be able to receive that health.
Yeah.
That is what it is at the end of the day, is that God puts it on us, free will, to be made whole. And then you feel great. You end up realizing, why did I ever eat that junk food anyways? And now I can't even eat junk food. I don't have the taste buds for it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being made whole.
I mean, I still like candy.
Oh, I don't get me wrong. I tried the
Give me a good gummy bear.
I just tried the new Reese's Oreo thing. I haven't had an Oreo in years. It's like a collab they're doing.
Oh.
I thought I got the Reese cup one and I got the cookie one because they're doing both versions. And it was good. Don't get me wrong. We both had it. But I'm like, I used to love Oreos and it just wasn't the same taste.
You and Nicole.
No, Nicole. Sorry. We're just calling her right now. She's not even here. Sorry.
We'll see if she actually listens to this episode.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's funny though that you don't, that's not your diet makeup anymore.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
Yep.
And that is literally the best representation.
It's a great way to describe it.
Of how holiness works. And then you just want more of it. And so then I'm going to start working out, or I'm going to start lifting heavier just to see what my body can do. And that's the beauty of when you're, Holy Spirit, what you want from me, ask. You might be like, I never hear from God. Start asking, because if he's already there, he's making you holy. He's there.
Yeah.
Give me ears to hear. Let me hear it. So it's the beauty of I said this, I keep saying this, and I will not stop saying this, of pruning the same branch to make richer fruit. And that is what holiness can do. And it's all from God. And that's why, I think I
really love that.
Yeah.
It's a great explanation.
So the next one, I kind of want to make sure you do all of these.
Olam.
Yeah, that is it. That's it.
Olam. The everlasting God. I had Genesis 21:33 for this. And the God is eternal, unchanging, and faithful across all generations. I think that one of the questions I would love your opinion on is, how does knowing God, knowing that he's everlasting, bring peace in your present situation?
I feel like this is a similar one, because I thought about this when I
did it. It's very similar.
What was the one, the Almighty?
I think it was like
It was the Almighty, or he's everything. Like he's never changed. And
he's
stuff.
not changing. So
this one, that was immediately what I thought about when I was sitting here thinking about this and just sitting with the Lord. I was just like, because it's like God's timeless. But I have used this so many times in even uplifting people in my life and myself, of being like, none of this surprised the Lord. He's before us, behind us, ahead of us. So when something really bad happens, not even really bad. It's just something happens. You're like, I don't understand. And it could feel like you want to spiral into all these emotions. I have now been like, okay, God, I already knew this was going to happen. So what do you want me to learn from this? What am I doing to continue this? Or what do you want me to do out of this? And it just gives me a lot of peace. Like I feel like just knowing that he is, I think that ahead of me is the bigger one than anything else, because I just know that when things then come present, it doesn't make me feel fear as much. So that's, but it did remind me immediately of another one we did where we talked a lot about how it changes our situation when we are already established God as a timeless God that is continuing.
The same way he speaks, the same way he's encouraged you.
Yes.
He's done it for Moses.
Of his faithfulness and his promises. Like it makes it makes everything like the Old Testament, like that's behind us, and New Testament too, behind us. This is all the Bible, behind us in time of where we are today in 2025. And yet that same God that we can see through all these stories and all these workings was so faithful. He was not a liar. He fulfilled all his promises. He was faithful. He was really kind and grace-filled to his people. There's plenty of times where he could be like, I'm done with this. Smite, done, out. Start fresh. Let's do it very done. He did it once, and we have a promise now he'll never do it again with Noah after that. But in the end of the day, it kind of makes you there's a lot of assurance and knowing that it's like an ever surrounding presence of an everlasting God. He's never not going to be ahead of us. He's never not going to be with us currently. He's not going to, I could see where he's done. And this is a good tactic of journaling for people. When you journal what's going, even if you don't journal daily, or if you want to do like one line things, it's incredible to write down something and then see how God works and keep writing that down, because in the future, you're going to have something very similar. You have to fall back on God's promises where he did fulfill and come through, and it was amazing. And some people like me, I have a good memory. So I remember be like, okay, God did it then. He's going to do it here because he is the same God and everlasting in that way. So that's kind of like how I use this, like that name, how I received it.
Yeah. Same.
And I think it's cool because where this comes in Genesis is after covenant with Abimelech, and it's showing his God's faithfulness to his promises. And that's exactly the thing that is really cool about it for me is that, whenever I want to doubt something that the Lord has given to me, and you have to just think of even Adam and Eve. That is the first tactic that the enemy is make you doubt. Did you really hear God? Do you really question it? Well, this name is saying he is faithful to his promises. So it's establishing this idea that I might not see that promise be given today, but you are timeless. You don't have a time span. You don't work in our time limit, and you are ahead of me on this. So I already know. And I'm thanking you now in advance that you are a faithful God who always comes through with his promises. And so that's how I see this as such a powerful standing on faith to be like, this is who you are, in a way that this is a very common thing people have struggled with. Yeah. When things come up and how they respond to it, or how they respond to God, like, why would you do this to me? If you love me, why would you do this? Why would you give me? And it's funny, 10 years, you look back on that situation and you can already understand because you saw it already play out. Right. But he already is 10 years ahead and already sees how it plays out. Yeah. Yeah. And there's something that's so like, okay, well then what's it on me to worry about this? You're ahead of me. You got this. I trust you. I trust you. You're going to figure it out. You're going to help me. You're going to give me the wisdom. You're going to give me the strategy. It's not me just sitting on the couch sometimes. Sometimes it is sitting back and saying, be still and listen to me. I want to show you something. There's something in you need to get out. Yeah. There's something, that needs to happen of obedience of somebody else for this to happen. God is always moving. So I think it's really a comfort for me at least. Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of what we are currently seeing amongst people, amongst nations, amongst the world is a sense of uncertainty and what is going to happen? Is government going to shut down? Oh, yeah. Who is the fault of Charlie Kirk? Like, you have all these things, and the Lord kind of showed me
the night of it happening, of Charlie Kirk's assassination, he kept saying, justice is mine, justice is mine, justice is mine. Do you know that he has said that before in his word? Justice is mine. He said it in Revelation.
I'm looking up what I read today.
Justice is mine.
It's crazy.
And so what he showed me, he actually gave me a dream. And in the dream, he said a lot of things about a lot of things.
None that we are not
I'm not discussing, but I see that those already coming into fruition. And I understand when I did not have eyes to see then. So I always know that the Lord does talk to you in dreams. So if you have a dream that is so significant, write it down and pray into it and ask the Lord what he wants to reveal to you.
And if somebody says, I don't dream, you rebuke that you just said that and say, I am a dreamer.
Yeah.
Speak life into it.
Speak, because your words are powerful.
I never dream.
Right.
I don't dream. And it's like, then you won't.
Yeah. So he said, come up higher in this situation. And I want you to look from where I am, look down. And in it, I look down and it's chaos. It feels like fear driven. You feel the uncertainty, you feel doubt. I have friends crying. I have friends scared of like decisions. And, I remember in those moments, that is when God, who does not change, coming up higher is key to peace. And he just kept telling me, I haven't changed in anything. If you come into agreements with fear, if you come into agreements with doubt, if you come into agreements with uncertainty, those are access points that the enemy can use to use as torment, to use as a distraction. But when you come up higher, you see that all of this has already been told. I already told it to you. Read Revelation, like study Revelations. And that's what he's been doing in me in the last 2 weeks is like, no, I've already shared this with you.
Bible.
Read the Bible. But no, I am a God who sits above all. I am the God that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. And if you have that authority that has never once changed, he is the God who spoke existence of creation. If that God is still there telling you, don't look at the chaos of your little world. It means nothing. Come up higher and sit where I'm sitting. And where I sit, there is peace. Where I sit, a plan is made. Where I sit, I am above it all. So praise me in this. And so he has just been teaching me, praise me in this and speak it into existence. Speak what you want into existence because of the blood I've already shed, because I've already done it. So I sit in this and I think, again, this is the word that I'm standing on, even in this current moment, that this is the God who has not changed. He's a God who spoke life into existence. And he's the God who's going to make a plan when there's like no way. It doesn't even seem like it's possible, but he's going to do it. So I would challenge you, write your dreams out, pray about it, but bring them to the Lord because he always has something higher for you in a situation that feels where the enemy's just distracting you.
Yes. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's, do you want to jump? Just because I do think this segues really well into the Jehovah Shalom.
I was going to say, do you want to jump into the peace?
So Jehovah Shalom, the Lord is peace. So this comes in Judges 6:24 when Gideon built an altar. Israel was oppressed by the Midianites and who left them hiding in caves, and they were afraid and they were just didn't know. They cried out to God, but God was like, you haven't even listened to me. And God calls him out and says, you're not even obeying me. Like you want me to now come help you. But he still sent Gideon. So he still sent help. And Gideon on the flip side is like, who am I? I'm some weak.
Yeah.
He is just speaking doubt of like, and God's like, you're a mighty warrior. And Gideon's like, no, I'm from a smallest little group. And God ends up using him to show how powerful he is and to bring peace. But it's really, this story is that Gideon comes and builds an altar of saying the Lord of peace, because he brought peace to his people. The Lord did. And so shalom means soundness, completeness, harmony, and absence of strife. And I just think how beautiful it is of what we just spoke about how God is timeless but he is also peace. He brings that peace. And there's nothing on this earth that you'll ever experience that will bring you peace like the Lord, because that's who he is.
Yeah.
And feels like you're just floating.
Yeah.
Have you ever done one of those floating, the float
No,
beds?
Nick has, but I have not.
You would probably die in it because it literally is like your mind it would be so hard to be like sit there for an hour. You're like, that's a waste of my time. But I thought of that just like you're floating. It's on like you're on a bunch of Epsom salt, so your literally body floats, and you're just in there, and it's in a sound barrier thing. So you're just like, it's just pure quietness. I probably want to do it now just to see where I am, because the only time I've ever done that, I would just like fell asleep. So I couldn't imagine like talking to the Holy Spirit in that type of environment.
Yeah.
But I just think about that. Like, it is so relaxing. You're literally nothing in this life are you that floating, because you're not going to space or something where you're just like floating effortless. And I just think that feeling is a shower of just relief, of completeness, of just being whole in the Lord. And that comfort in who he is brings you the same, he like gives you also peace in also all these things of knowing him. That's
good.
Yeah. I think peace is so, and what a funny thing, because like so many people don't have peace.
I know.
This is like the one thing people don't have, because their life is full of striving, not harmony,
Chaos.
loudness,
Yeah.
chaos. I know people who constantly listen to music all day. They have something playing all day. And I'm not even saying that like my own, I can't even do that because of overstimulation of my children.
Don't like it. Yeah.
But like, that isn't peace.
Yeah.
And also there's times where people even say, like, for me, I've always felt like when I make a decision, the Lord gives me peace, and it's his presence in it. It's not even, he gives me peace. He's giving himself to me to say, I cover this. I'm on this. And so when I've ever made a decision, for instance, like even something like moving here from New York, I sat there and I had it was like a pivot or a fork in the road. I had an awesome opportunity to move into a great apartment. I already had a great job and up there, and I had a family. I love the seasons. I love my life in New York. But I had this feeling that the Lord was really pushing me to come move back here. Something I would have never have done if I didn't move to New York. I would have never felt the desire to come back here like I did. And the Lord really healed me in New York. I can't even believe I said those words right there, because I don't know if that's ever been said by anybody. But like, it really healed me in the time and the presence, and me really relying and trusting on him, that when I made that decision, I was like, Lord, just tell me what you want from me. I just want to go wherever you want me to go. And I remember the response I received back from him was, okay, you're done with milk. You're on whole food. I'm walking with you. You're a big girl, make a decision. You already know what I want.
Yeah.
You already know what I've said. And so I everything worked out moving back here. And the Lord brought me peace. Now, did there times where the enemy came in and made me doubt that decision? Yes. There is plenty of times that you're going to get doubt. And if any of those stirrings come, that is not of the Lord, because he is peace. So if you're not experiencing peace, you're not experiencing God right there. And so even as believers, non-believers, and you're feeling something stirring you, it feels uneasy, that's not from God. And I always say that to people who are like trying to make a decision. I'm like, do you feel peace right now? I'm like, no. I'm like, well, then you should pray about that, because I feel like, I know for me, God's always come in, and like it almost feels like a flow of water into this like beautiful basin of just like, so peaceful. Okay, I make this decision and walk into that. So
That's perfect. That's exactly what I was going to say.
oh, boom, there you go. Peace.
Yeah. It's if it feels anything other than peace, like that calmness in your heart and your spirit, it's not of the Lord.
Yeah, it's super simple. We make it complicated.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, that the Lord was like,
oh, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this.
I have this or this. God, what? I like, it feels, this is so silly looking back, how I thought I was coming to the Lord with okay, this is what I've done over here. Do you want to bless this? But this is what I've also, like, the control of me to be like, here, God, here's 2 plans. Which one do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And the Lord's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Sister, you're following me. Make a decision.
Yeah.
You can't just like a genie in terms of like coming all the time to be like, I already gave you the answer.
Yeah.
You're not liking it right now because you have this other option.
Right.
And there was no, and ironically, those jobs actually, the company I worked at that was a really good, great company started trying to make move to a different state. So people started losing their jobs. And I would have not been able to afford the apartment that I got. So the Lord, I didn't know that. Months later, it happened.
Yeah.
So it's like the Lord knew that and let me make the decision because it's still free will. But He gave me so much peace in also moving back. So I do think it's so simple, and we make it complicated, trying to be like, oh, it's like, no, either you have peace or you don't. Period.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It's good. All right, next one.
Okay. Shoot. Oh, good. This is a good one.
Which one are you going to go to?
Well, I was gonna go with
Qanna?
Yeah.
Okay, good. But it could be where we jump into the Lord of Hosts and heavenly armies because of having that peace.
I kind of leave that last.
Okay, all right.
For segue.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. We clearly don't talk about
We don't talk about anything.
Hit my mic like 6 times. Sorry.
All right, Qanna, jealous God. I have Exodus 25. God's jealousy is not like human envy. That's key. It is His passionate love that refuses to share us with idols. And those idols can be anything that is above Him, anything. That could be self-righteousness. That could be going to the gym. That could be putting your family above the Lord. I've heard that recently a lot because I'm in this transition of friendships that are having their kids go off to college, and now they, as a mom, don't know what else to do. I've only ever served my family. I feel like that was my calling, and that is a beautiful calling, but your whole focus has been on your family and not on Him. And so there's been a shift of transition just to like, the Lord's like, hey, I want you. You know, I've given you this time, but I didn't want you to put them above me.
Yep.
So there's certain idols that He taught even within me that He's like, hey, your kids, I want you to open your hands up and I want you to surrender them because I have them. With your husband, I want you to open them up. I have him. You don't need to lead him. You need to get out of the way. You know, it's more like, did I call you to provide for your family? No, get out of the way. I'm jealous of our time. I'm jealous of the time with Him. I want Him to come to me. I want you to come to me. I'm jealous of that. There's a lot of things that I've realized has been jealous of me for because of this deep love. And when you study who God is and what is currently the thing He's showing me is that I have so much love for you. The love is beyond what you can understand. It surpasses all understanding. But there's such a deep love for you that when you fix your eyes only on me, nothing else will matter. And I will handle all the things. That's coming up higher. That's seeking only my voice. That's seeking my heart. My heart is love. And all I've asked you to do is love me that way and love others that way, that deep compassion. And everything else He is a jealous God for. Like if we start changing and shifting our perspective to something else, He's jealous of that. And He made that known to me. It was like, hey, I'm jealous of all these things that you're doing right now. And a lot of them was self-protecting, but I didn't realize I was putting that as an idol because to me, it didn't seem like an idol. Like, actually, God, I've been asking you for all these things, but He's like, yeah, but you haven't been seeking me. You've been coming in one way, but serving another. You're serving yourself and you're not seeking me. And He's a God that will make that very clear. Go ahead and say something. I'm going to look up a verse that I was just thinking about when I just said that. If you have words on
I got
this.
stuff. So this comes off also in Deuteronomy 6:14. I wanted to read it. You shall not follow other gods, any of the gods of the peoples who surround you. For the Lord your God, who is among you, is a jealous God. And it's just saying, like, demanding what is rightfully and uniquely His. Otherwise, the anger of the Lord your God will be kindled and burn against you, and He will destroy you from the face of the earth. Now, this is obviously prior to us having Jesus. So there's a lot of some things in these things that people are like, well, he's going to destroy us off the face of the earth. It's like, no, he gives us grace. We're covered in the blood of Jesus. We don't have to bring lambs for our sacrifice. This is Deuteronomy. This is like, this is the beginning parts of the Bible here, but it's showing how he doesn't play. And I wanted to be very careful too about this word, because immediately jealousy can come up as so negative, but this is like a zealous type of it's like a devotion. It's a deep passion. It's a love that it's not envy, but protective, exclusive, fierce. It's kind of like a husband and wife in that way, where a husband is passionate and will protect his wife and love her and care about it. And God has made us. He has made us. He has made us in his image. We are his creation. And so it is all of his right to have us, but he gives us the beauty of free will. But it does not serve us, because we're created to serve him, like to love and serve him and worship him. And then, of course, there's so much distractions of other things that come up and have such a say. And even in people pleasing, we excuse it and be like, it's okay, sure. Yeah, I'll go to yoga with you. Yeah, I'll do this. And it's a worship. It's something that you're doing. You can go to a concert and people's hands are up worshiping the person. And, that I know, because of this word, breaks the Lord's heart. He's jealous. He wants the devotion to come back to him. And I think that in saying that, it's important to see it as like how much love he has, is so passionate. He loves me that much that he wants my time and he wants my heart, but he also wants me to come to have no other God, to be the focused on him. And that is, it's not like a jealous of envy or jealous of, you're not like a guy looking at your wife. It's not that. It's a jealousy of, I'm so protective of love. And I think that's really such a beautiful thing, to be so loved and protected and cared for, that God just wants us to be how we were created to be, and not fall to these other idols and gods and things. Because when have ever we served an idol in our lives, has it really brought back life to us?
Right.
And anyone could make a reasoning for it, but if you really think long term, it doesn't. You can have the gym, but you could be frustrated or mad or jealous that someone's doing, or mad that someone's doing better than you in the gym, or your body's not coming out the way it should, and you get obsessive of that, and that's not really life bringing. And I'm not saying the gym is bad. I'm not demonizing that at all, because I love the gym more than anyone else in that way. But I have had in my life an idol of the gym, and it was also a mistrust of who God was, because I didn't like who I was and my body was, and his creation. And so I was saying, you know what, God, I'm going to go serve this because you're not giving me what I wanted. This will give me what I want. And even if I didn't actually say that, my actions are showing that, because I devoted everything to that. That was a priority to me. And God's just like, prioritize me and you will get life. You will not care about those things and you will be free from those things.
Yeah.
And how many times in the Bible did the Israelites come upon people and be like, you know what? I love that golden calf. I'll worship it. Oh, I married, out of my culture, and now I'm going to believe all the gods of my wife or my husband, because that's what they were doing. And he is just so firm to say, this is not what I made you. This is not what I want. This is who I am and why I want it. And it is full of passion.
I think the enemy is so sneaky about it too. Like, it doesn't just suddenly happen. It is a trickle. It is like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. All right, I don't want to go to the gym, but I'm going to go to the gym because of the temple that God has created me to have, and I'm going to make it good and pleasing to him. Then all of a sudden you start feeling yourself and you build and you're like, okay, I got this. I'm going to go every day. I'm going to go to 2 classes a day. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put this above pretty much everything else. Like, I'm spending so much of my time here. Am I devoting the same amount of time to the Lord, if not more? Likely that's not always the case.
No. and you have to think about what you just said there. Exactly what you said there triggered something in me that made me laugh so hard. So the joke I have when I worked at the gym under Melissa was
that's why I said
when
it.
people are feeling themselves and people get in shape, they start wearing nicer, like
cuter
clothes fitting, and then you can start seeing them how they are around other people, and they're like feeling themselves. That's the joke of it. I appreciate you said that.
Yeah.
But it opens other doors.
Right.
Exactly. What I wanted to, like what you said is, I was like,
small trickle that leads into the doors.
This, you're not focused on what the Lord wants you. You're opening a door to have the enemy be like, here's a temptation. You're like, well, I'm already feeling myself in this, and this is my God.
Yeah.
So why this isn't that bad? It's just so harmless. I'm just flirting. I'm married. I'm just flirting with the guy because he's talking to me. We just work out together.
Right.
And it keeps on going and going. And this is the cycle the Lord's trying to break off us, because that doesn't happen. Not that, but that doesn't happen when we serve God. We do have boundaries. We notice it. The Holy Spirit's like, you're starting to do stuff that is crossing a line here. You need to back off or stop. And you hear that. And I'm not saying that happen. It happens. We're humans, the flesh, and the enemy is constantly going to come at us, even when we're devoted to the Lord. So imagine if you're not, how much more you're going to have opportunities to fall into traps.
I have a friend who loves playing tennis. Okay. Loves it. Got back into it after having babies, and she hadn't played since high school. And she was just like, this is great. Yeah. And what she noticed in herself was, it's great to have a team and cheering each other on and having competition again. But she was getting angry, and her anger and competitiveness was not pleasing to the Lord. And she just she could feel it. She was like living the rest of her day in this mindset of just anger and thought of the constant battle of, why did she do this? Why didn't she hit this point? Why did she do this? And she was like, I was becoming obsessed with it. Yeah. And all of a sudden my thoughts were not being captivated by God. They were being captivated my own self. And she's like, I had to step away. And the Lord would gave it to me to enjoy. But what I did with it was not please him. Yeah. And so I took it to another extreme level of an obsession, and that she had to stop playing.
I see that.
And I cannot understand. I've seen it in many ways, and many people. So the verse I had was James 1:5-8. If you need wisdom, ask our generous God for it, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. But when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not waver. For a person, divided loyalty is unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Such people should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Their loyalty is divided between God and the world, and they are unstable to do in everything that they do. Like, to me, that is a very clear jealousy. Like, I'm not even going to give you this opportunity to have what you want when your loyalty is on anyone else but me.
Yeah. And it's also saying, like, you can't even handle it because you're not even, I can't trust you with it.
Right.
It's not even that, like, he's withholding in what the world would see jealous in that way. He's like, I can't even give it to you.
Right.
Because you're not even for me. So if I give you this, you're going to probably do something wrong with it.
And what he's asking is wisdom.
Yeah.
But if we're asking God to do miracles and healings, and God, provide this, give us this house, this is the house I really want, but I'm divided to the world and only to him,
that's so big.
Then he's still not going to give me that. And we're asking for wisdom.
This is hilarious, and also not, and I say hilarious because it's always so crazy how God works. That is exactly the same exact verse I gave someone on Monday.
Oh, weird.
And it was talking about we were talking about even to our identities and how people are like, well, I don't know what my identity is. I don't, like, if you really if we're ripping off all these things, and you ask somebody, like, who are you? What's your identity? And it's sometimes almost vulnerable to be like, I don't even really fully know what words I would say, kind of thing. And also sometimes God gives us identity and we don't understand it. Like, we don't have the life that looks like it would match up to that identity, but God works out everything to have that. And he was telling a story. We watched this video about this. The author of the book we're reading talks about his son and how he said he was going to be a skateboarder for Jesus, and how that he was like, but he didn't even he didn't even skate. Like he wasn't even a skateboarder. Like he didn't even know how to skate. And he was in 6th grade and he was like, okay, that's good. And then he goes, he was awful. He was awful. So he was like, this could be a really hard identity, son. Yeah. But he like worked it out. And he literally for 2 years, became really good. He ended up going to the Middle East to the dad and brought his family. So his kids like, there's no skateboard. How am I supposed to live my identity in this way? And the whole idea is too, that like sometimes if we lose track too of our identity, which is found in Christ, who is the devotion. And in what this kid ended up, the story is wild how he literally ended up, it was in war. It was in 2003. They're in war. They're in Middle East. He works for the government, the dad, but they weren't on base, so there's no safety. They became friends with the National Guard, who let him into like a Central Park area thing, and ended up creating clubs and giving skateboards out to people, and that's never seen it because Iraq doesn't have that. Yeah. So it's like, don't limit God in those things, but he's following so hard after God that God gave him those things. And that was the whole point, was ask God, even when you're in a confusing thing, if you're following after, if you're devoted after him, just as he's devoted to you, he wants to give you all those things. But the whole concept of the insight of this, people are missing this part of it, that our hearts also need to be in the right place to receive also everything God has for us. This kid had faith that most adults don't have, that he was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. Yeah. He ended up, the king of Jordan gave him land to have the first skate park in the land of Jordan. And he ended up getting sponsored by Red Bull. All Crazy. Because he just trusted that God gave him this identity. He never even picked up a skateboard. And so cool. So it goes back to this idea that he wasn't like his idol, this kid's idol was not a skateboarding, but he was just like, God's going to use this to bring more of this. Yeah. And he just listened to the Lord and he asked God, because his dad encouraged him to be like, just ask God. And then after that, I'm like, man, and James 1:5 came up. And I was like, I gotta share this verse because I do feel like a lot of people are missing out on, this is a beautiful name of the Lord. This isn't a wrathful name of the Lord. He's not trying to be unhealthy and be like, you're mine. He's saying, I have so much for you. I love you so much. Just follow me and I'm going to give you everything. Yeah. But and if you're asking God for the stuff like this verse says, and you're not, you need to check your heart. Yeah. Because we all have idols. Mm-hmm. And it could be simple as self. Mm-hmm. Self is the biggest idol for most people. Mm-hmm. What I think is right, what I'm going to do. You're not asking the Lord what he wants. If you're following Jesus and being a servant of Jesus, you're asking him first what he wants. Mm-hmm. That's what servanthood is, asking the master. It's not, okay, I'll ask you once I fail and I didn't work out. Mm-hmm. It's saying, God, what do you want from me so I can walk in this and be this and have this beautiful devotional relationship like a married husband and wife. Mm-hmm. But this is so cool because fierce, he's so for us, he loves us, he knew that's why the everlasting God, he knew that kid was going to go do all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But 6th grade, when you get told this identity and the dad's like, I don't understand how you're going to do this. That's the beauty of who God is that he was like, you're for me. I love you. Just follow after, just keep your eyes focused on me, devote to me. And I will make the way. Yeah. I will always make the way, even when it looks absolutely impossible.
Well, I mean, it kind of leads right into the next one with Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. I mean, because of the posture of his heart, the eagerness to seek him, God provided all he needed and more. Mm-hmm. Like, you land in Jordan, like, to me is like, that's crazy.
As he continued, I was like, every step got crazier that I was like, this is nuts.
But because of a child who is just trusting his father, right? His eyes,
childlike faith.
Yeah. And his eyes didn't waver. You hear, I mean, my kids will give me, Riley right now, she has her 15th birthday coming up and she's like giving me these outlandish ideas for her birthday. And I'm like, we are not there. We are doing something simple. You're not 16, you're 15, you get a permit, that's it, you know? And she's like, can we do this? Can we do this? But she's asking and believing because she's seen like the goodness of her parents and yet the goodness of her Father in heaven who's provided for her, you know? And so some of those things I'm like, okay, your faith is strong, but also that for you. Realism, here it is. Yeah. You're having a small party, if anything, you know? So, but and having the faith that God is going to provide for us and having the childlike faith that there is no doubt in my mind, I'm going to do this. That to me is special because that is who God is. And we both have gone through Jehovah Jireh as understanding who he really is. This was first revealed in Abraham offering Isaac up. To me, that was truly the greatest act of obedience and trust that my God is going to provide, but I'm going to be faithful to listen. And he walks him up this mountain, puts him on this altar, builds the altar with him, puts Isaac there, and then all of a sudden God is going to stop it. But he just needed to see Abraham's heart, right? Do you trust me even when you don't want this? Like you've been praying for this child and all of a sudden here it is. And he provides a lamb instead and continues the offering. To me, when I was reading the story, it's like such a God story that you hear since you're a kid. And when we've been like raised in a church, you hear this story all the time. It changes when you're a parent.
Yes.
But when you need God to show up and provide for you in seasons that are like desperate times, pray, pray, pray. This verse brings out a whole new understanding of who God really is. And really, to me, understanding that he is ultimately going to fulfill everything because of Jesus. It almost feels like we're living a fake life. Like when you come up and you understand like the spirit realm and the natural realm and you're going through like life, I don't know. For me, I've just really realized recently, all this is like so a chess piece. Like, I'm a chess piece in this game.
Does it feel like, what's it called? Truman Show?
Yeah, or like there's been a few things. Movie. It's like just all of it's set up. All of this is fake. I don't believe anything anymore. Like if you want my real opinion, like going on this like, all the things. But in the end, okay, God, I trust you. I trust only you because you're the only one that has never changed. You're the only one I can trust. You have never lied to me. You've only ever provided for me. So if I'm asking you to provide for me, you know my heart. You know my needs. I will do whatever you're asking me to do. But contentment is also part of that process. And to me, if I'm content with little and I'm content with much, I need to be content because I trust the Lord is going to do what he's going to do. And that is provision of protection, provision of finances, provision of life, safety. There's so many acts of who he is. And I think the more and more I'm understanding really what provision is, it's so much more because I don't live in the same world anymore that I once lived. I've died to so much of this and still doing it. Like again, it's a journey. I'm not there. And I don't think I'll ever be there until I meet him. But in it, it's like one layer of an onion at a time that you're finally seeing certain things as they are. And he's just showing up because he's providing those little pieces of resources or those financial aspects.
Yeah. I would say immediately, like we did not grow up in a household that it was almost a false idea of this. The Lord's going to provide, but like also like not shown how that looks to trust God.
Yeah.
It was more of a fear base of provision. The last hour, and not to say God doesn't do that because a lot of times it's us, like the mistrust of doing things or obedience of other people needs to happen in order for that to fall through too.
Completely.
Your story you've mentioned before of just, coming through when someone was praying that prayer and you were the ones by stepping out in faith to answer that prayer.
Yeah.
And so, but for this specific, I don't know why specifically, it literally, I just now have God has worked on this so hard because it has a lot to do with the fear and self-reliance. Mm-hmm. So until I was able to dismantle rock by rock of that altar for myself and say, God, I really trust you. And listen and obey to when he called me to do something. Mm-hmm. It looked so weird to the world, and it's going to, because no one's going to understand it because God is not of this world, so he functions differently. So when he has given me, said, okay, go do this. And I'm like, okay, for real? For instance, my car a year ago, I think it was a year ago, I loved my car. It was a great car. I loved it. And I was like, I pulled into my driveway. And when I'm pulling in, I have this gate. I live out in the middle of nowhere. And so so it's a test, she comes in. And then I'm clicking it open slow. I'm sitting there and I hear clearly the Lord's like, you're going to sell this car. Go sell this car. And I'm like, it's paid for. I love this car. Why would you ever do that? Why would you ever put me in that? And I'll pray about it. And so I prayed about it, even though the Lord already told me. And within 2 weeks, I couldn't even describe the faithfulness of the Lord within the 2 weeks of getting like the top amount for the car, getting this other car for the lowest amount possible, the relationships we got to talk to throughout that. And we were able to save that money, use that money for other things we didn't know was coming. And he also saved me on the bill of gas that all this year that I didn't know beforehand I would even issue. So when the provision isn't always that, it doesn't always come from somebody else. Sometimes it's just listening to the Lord, and he already knows because he's ahead of us, the everlasting Lord, like God. So he already knows that stuff, but it required me to be faithful and say, you know what, this looks so weird to the world. No one would do this, but I trust you. I quit my job because the Lord told me to quit my job. And 2 days later, my son needed to go out of the school that he was at and stay at home for a little bit before he went to a different school. I didn't know that, but he did. And I wrestled with this feeling of, why do you want me to do that? Mm-hmm. And then I quit. He provided, because I was like, why would I'm making money from this? And it really shone a light to my heart of like, do I really trust you, Lord? Mm-hmm. Am I really caring about this job to provide for my needs? Mm-hmm. And if that's the biggest part, I think, of understanding this name is often we don't trust God to be exactly who he says he is in this. Mm-hmm. And that is where the work needs to be done so we can actually see him be able to move. Is again, what you said about the holiness of sitting there and working on it and getting light shine in rooms and say like, okay, I need to clear this room out and figure it out. This is the same way. Some of us have grown up in homes that money wasn't always available. It could be fear-based. It wasn't like provided, like the fact your daughter is able to be like, yeah, I want this, and feels like she can. I would never have done that with our dad. We know that. We couldn't. We already knew it wasn't going to be a thing. But I've had to unlearn this idea that we are always in trouble, because we're not. And God has never let me down. He has always provided. And the more and more I've walked through this, I'm kind of now in a totally different position where I'm just like, God, I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this. And I don't look at, and I heard this once before where it's saying, if you see a payment come through, like money come through your account from a payment you were owed, or like your whatever, and you're like, relief, that's a problem. If you have a bill coming and you feel fear, that's a problem. Because
how so?
Because that's immediately showing that you're like, how is this gonna happen? Even though God is literally, it's literally a belief.
Yeah.
And you need to go check your heart if that happens. And that probably happens to majority of people. But until I start, and that affected me, because I'm like, do I do that? Yeah, I do that whenever I see one of Lawson's sponsors, they go and they pay finally. And you're like, oh, relief, we can do that. I don't do that anymore. I'm just like, cool. And I really do feel that. I've trusted the Lord to lead me down this path financially, specifically, to be like, whatever you want, however you want, where you want us to tithe, what do you want us to do, and that's the thing is, tithing is a huge part of that too, is that faithfulness of this. This is already all yours. Why do I care? I'll tithe on everything. I don't even care, because it's like, it's not, I cannot be attached to this. Yeah. Because then you're serving another God. And you almost take yourself out of the running from exactly James 1:5, saying God can't give you anything when your hands are like this. And so it all, knowing all these facets of God is so important, because it shouldn't be overwhelming. It should almost be like, okay, let me search my heart and start removing these like shackles off of me. Yep. So I can just live in freedom and just be like, God, can't wait to see how you're going to show up. Yeah. And I'm not going to figure it out. Yep. And it's not saying don't do work and sit back and do nothing, but wait till the Lord to tell you. Maybe the Lord's saying, just go check the mail and there's a check in there. And that has actually happened.
Yeah.
We had this random rebate thing come back from a really weird dealership we got a car from that was awful, and they ended up having to pay everyone all this money back, and because it was not a great situation. It was the exact amount for one of our bills. I was like, this is so cool. Random thing of dad's long after I thought we would have nothing left came through. That covered one of our bills. Yeah. I was like, why? I almost think it's fun to be like, let me see how you are my provider. Let me see how you're going to do this.
Yeah,
because
totally.
It's so much. I don't feel fear or anxiety or worries. Doesn't mean we budget. We are good stewards. We try to be good stewards of what we're doing here.
Right.
Not to say we haven't been. We've lived in fear. We've done things we shouldn't have done financially in that way. But God has been so full of grace and mercy and tender to be like, it's okay. You're learning.
Yeah.
And I'm going to teach you.
We'll try again.
But I'm just going to keep doing it. And that's what I said to my friend, because same thing keeps happening to them. And I'm like, same thing with me. But it hit me a couple months ago. It's happening because of me. It's happening because God's presenting the same trial of my faith. Do you trust me yet? Oh, okay. Okay, next month. Here you go again. Oh, okay. I'm going to provide for you, but I just want you to just know when you see it, it's going to be good. And I do feel that way.
Yeah.
But that's probably the last year, and I'm 35. So 34. At 34, I figured it out. But how many years have I stressed and put work or hurt people just to make sure, because I'm out of my spiraling of like, how am I going to figure it out? And how am I going to get a car when I'm moving back? Or when I lived in New York, how am I going to get a job? It's not always financial. Sometimes it is just like living life. Yeah. How am I going to have food for the table sometimes? And Lord has never let us go without.
No. I would say too, to like piggyback on that, is also check your disappointment and self-doubt and doubt in the Lord. Like I would say sometimes it's self-doubt that, like I can't provide. Well, you're not supposed to. God is. A. B. All right, God, I'm going to give you this. Provide for us. I don't see how you're going to do it. I'm, self-employed. I have no clients. I don't know how you're going to do it. What are you going to do? Then he doesn't come through. There is a reason. Sometimes that happens. And I've noticed in our journey is like, he taught us the tithing thing. He taught us, will you trust me when you have little? Will you trust me when you have lots? Will you trust me if I take it all away? Will you trust me if I don't give you a resource of a job? Will you trust me in these moments? So there's like highs and lows so that he got us to a point that we're only focused on him. And then there's journey aspects to it that's lengthier than just like, oh my gosh, my bill's due tomorrow. I need you to provide. He's shown up. He provides. All of a sudden it's like lengthy. And he's like, do you trust me now? And I thought I trusted him 500 other points of the journey that's led to disappointment. But it's not that you didn't hear the Lord say he's going to not provide. He's just saying, I'm taking you to steward more. I'm taking you to open the tent pegs wider. I'm taking you to a place that you can only trust me. And it's almost the Abraham to the Isaac moment. This is where God, can I trust you in this moment that you will not make me kill my son?
Yeah. And can you imagine the son sitting there building the thing, being like, where's the animal we got going on here? Mm-hmm. Like, what's going on? Yeah. Like, that's there's so much. I couldn't even imagine the conversations, a lack thereof, and the pressures and feeling of what's going on in that. But, God wants to see our faithfulness. Right. God wants to see our action to say, I trust you. They're going to figure out this because, that's the thing that you're talking about is that disappointment. Sometimes it's realizing we're striving still. Mm-hmm. We say like we're
haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah. Like we're still trying to make it happen, even in God-given callings. Mm-hmm. We could be like, well, you told me to do this, and it's not doing all the stuff that you told me it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. You're not providing out of this, but you gave me this calling so strongly. I know I'm supposed to be doing this. Where's I need to be blessed in this. I'm being faithful. I'm being obedient. And if you sometimes step back and check our hearts, I love it. It's like, search my heart, Lord, and find any of those things. And sometimes it's asking God, show me, because he will probably make it very obvious, bring a light to something. Or speaking through other people, be like, hey, I noticed this, or you seem exhausted in what you're doing. And it's something that comes up a lot. Even I said to a friend, I'm like, she's single and I'm married. And I'm like, it also in marriage is so interesting because I could be like, yeah, God. And then, our spouse cannot be. And you're one flesh. So
it's an open door.
So it's also, you get one outcome. You don't get, like, I do believe a faith of another God can honor that. I'm not saying that it's that, but you have to also pour into your marriage and individually pour into your relationship to the Lord and check both of your own hearts to see, am I striving in this? Do I really trust you? Have I let this go? And I know he's saying here, but and this is only an example because but I'm saying I can't do that for Lawson.
Right. He's on his own journey.
And that's the control thing. Mm-hmm. I can be like, God, I know that you have us. I know all this stuff. And then me try to do it through Lawson. That's not how God works. Mm-hmm. Everyone's on their own journey and their own relationship with the Lord. Mm-hmm. And he has to be faithful. Lawson has to be faithful to the Lord just as much as I do in this marriage for sometimes our family to see the outcome. And that can be really difficult because it does bring up this whole idea of, man, I just wish I could do things like on my own. Not like that, but you know what I mean? Like when you're like, not trust somebody to do the group project because you're like, I just get it done. I'll clean the house because I do it better. Like, and that's also bringing. So God is so good to show us where we're wrong, and also wrong in our marriages, wrong in our relationships with like how our beliefs with him. And those things need to be there. Again, they're foundation for more. So how he's not going to can us, like the verse says, when our heart motives isn't like pure and good, and we're not, seeking the Lord, we're seeking ourselves, and even a little bit, he's not going to give it to us. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people I know are like, I don't understand. You said that you're going to do this, and it's almost hard for me because I know sometimes the Holy Spirit's like, you have to let them learn. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like, shoulders. And I have friends, and I'm like, wake up. Like, just, you're worried so much about this. It's all God's. But that's the journey we each get the beautiful ability to have on our own with the Lord. Mm-hmm. And you can't control or help sometimes. Sometimes the Lord tells us to speak into it, but often he doesn't for me because I'm like, I want to help them and let them, because it's free. You're free when you just trust the Lord in this. Mm-hmm. When has he ever let you down, Melissa Perry? Mm-hmm. When has he ever let you down?
Yep.
But it's the fear that the enemy, well, what if he doesn't come through this time? Mm-hmm. And that's a very important bill, that home insurance or property taxes or whatever that's coming down the line. Mm-hmm. I can't just miss that payment. What does that mean? All this fear. That's I'm present day today. The Lord's like, that is years for me in the future. Like, he's like, I'm not even thinking about that. Do you trust me today for your daily bread? Because I will provide. And I love the verses of the birds and the lilies of the field and gathering, because he's still doing work. He's not like, I'm giving the worms, but the birds still have to fly and get it. How much more will I provide for you? My children who I love. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not, I just think about the beauty of having kids has taught me so much more about my relationship and trust in the Lord when it comes to even like things like this. Mm-hmm. I want so much I want my kid to have, I want him to have this cute little dessert we made, but if he's not going to eat his dinner and do all these things that show, like, if he's being really mean or whatever, I'm just like, I feel like you can't eat, you have to eat your food in order to have that. And know you'll love it and it's so good, but it'll ruin your tummy if you don't eat your dinner first. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not good for you to have something really good on top of nothing. And so that's kind of what I feel like sometimes the Lord pushes us to, is we're coming there and we're striving and stressed out, and we have debt or this and that, and we're like, just keep pouring some more on, but we're not even good stewards to the things that we have. Mm-hmm. And he's like, if I pour this on, you're only going to make it 10 times worse. I don't even want that for my children. Mm-hmm. So there's so much act of faith in knowing that he can, though. And the more you do it and release it, like the holiness, it will grow in time. It is the coolest thing to be a part of what God can do. Mm-hmm. When you listen to and do that, like your story, I won't forget it, because it's so cool to know, like, that was an answered prayer to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And it just shows the beauty of letting us be a part of what he wants to do too in provision.
So good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Last
All
one.
right, last one. Go ahead.
Jehovah Sabaoth. So is the Lord of hosts, the Lord of the heavenly armies, which is there's a couple verses, but this one, the Isaiah 6:3 is holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. And this is speaking of the Lord of hosts. It's just showing that he is sovereign and he is our defender. This is actually mentioned 285 times in the Old Testament, which there's so much war, so many moments, and yet it was mentioned so many times. So it clearly is important. It's mentioned too with David and Goliath. When he was facing Goliath, he mentions that I have the Lord of the heavenly armies on my side. Like, this ain't nothing. And it is so profound to think of how much this is and how much warfare. People talk about this all the time, spiritual warfare there is in our lives, in our world around us. We are in the natural, but the spirit is whipping around. And just to know that you're on the winning side, but you're on has armies. I can't even imagine my vision of seeing that. Can you imagine?
No.
The power, the know he's for us, that he will always, when he said this to people in the Old Testament, and he's like, you're going to go overtake them. Now, as not a person fighting a war myself in that time as an Israelite, I'm not that person. I don't judge them in it because it's probably easy to fearful to be like, how?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, wow, I would be like, let's go to war. Let's go do stuff, kind of thing, knowing that he has me if he already told me. And he's gonna be the one who does it. I think about this when I pray for protection, for hosts of angels, for like that. You're calling upon the Lord to send his armies for protection.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful to know that. Even talking to Jada, she's like, I just see a bunch of angels. I'm like, we pray all the time for hosts of angels. I pray for armies, big old angels to protect this home because of what we're called to do. We know we need the protection, but we have the access to call upon this name.
That's so good. I think that I had the same verse, but I heard that the Lord he told me, I am the commander of angelic armies, sovereign over heaven and earth. And to me, as you're sanctified and purified, holy, ready, a bride, it's part of this idea of this marriage that comes in. And it's like for Nick and I, like, I trust him. I know he's going to provide and protect. I know he's going to lead my kids. I know he's going to pour Jesus into everything he does. Like, there's so much of that. But then the God above, who has put us together, who loves us, who see us as children, has this angelic army that says, no matter what happens, I have you, like truly have you. And again, it's going up to that spiritual aspect that I see the world very different right now. And in it it's spiritual. And we're not against, the Bible says, flesh and blood. We're against principalities and we're against spiritual armies. And we don't have to live in that fear. But if our eyes are staying focused on God, who does not change, then the rest of the battle doesn't belong to us. It's already his. The world in which we have to live, it doesn't have to put any fear or doubt in us. It's his to take care of. It's his to carry. It's his to fight because he's already won. He's already done it. He's already won. So there's so many things that we think about because they're so minuscule to this moment, right? But coming up again higher, he's the God who's the commander in chief. Like, to me, that's power. There's authority. There is, I've read about his arm and the power within his arm that he just moves and it's gone. The demonic world is scared of his name. To me, that's power in itself, right? So words matter, absolutely. And we know that. And the Lord is continuing to remind me of like how powerful words really are. The word was in John 1:1. So like to me it is. And all of a sudden you're backed by God speaks it and something happens. And so as the commander of the host of armies of angelic force, all of a sudden that is who's guarding you. That is who's protecting you. That's who's surrounding your land when you anoint that home with oil. That is surrounding the four corners of your property because you've prayed over this. It is who is guarding your children at night. There's things that you and I will never know is happening. But because the Lord is such a good God, he's protecting you in your sleep. He's protecting your children. He's protecting your husband, that things you do not have to worry about. And that's okay. Because if I had to worry about that, I'd be up all night, So there's this sense,
I have, but I didn't believe this.
Exactly.
When I didn't live it out and say, I don't have issues at night sleeping in terms of like waking up being fearful or he's gone for a trip. I'm like, okay, night. Like, I just know I feel so surrounded.
Yeah.
I feel the presence. And I also feel like this is why we wanted to go through all these names. Because, and I really want to end on this one, because there is a spiritual war and world. And whether, I know a lot of people want to shy away from talking about it because they think if they talk about it, then they get attacked. I'm like, homies, you're all getting attacked right now as we speak. Anytime that things are happening around us. And some people could be like, don't over spiritualize every single thing. And there's sure, you sin, you do things.
Yeah.
You're part of it.
Yeah.
It's not
there's
just
consequences.
Yeah. It's not every flat tire is that,
Yes.
but it's like, kind of thing is having spiritual eyes to realize that we have access to the commander in chief of a huge host of angels, army. Like it's powerful. And they're not like little, cherubs. They're fierce. Every single time someone encountered an angel, the angel would be like, do not fear, because clearly they were afraid. I couldn't even imagine. I keep praying I prayed this morning to be able to see it. I know the Lord is going to do it, and I keep praying for it because I want to see, I want to experience, what everything that is of God. But this, why we wanted to do this too, is that we're going to start talking about witchcraft and like even new age things like that are so simple and in your face, even Halloween, things like that. So it's just candy. It's just this, it's all these things. And we are living in a world that when every action we're doing actually is a spiritual action too. And so it is important to go and know all these things, and also know that we are fighting a war, but it's not on us. God fights our battles. And that's why this name is so powerful, because what we're going to lead into isn't scary.
No. There's
no power we're giving it. It's, I am more fear for the Lord than what we're talking about, but it is so important for eyes to see, for ears to hear, to have knowledge of this and not shy away from it, so that there are things people are doing that have no idea they're doing.
Yeah.
And that is getting open doors and access to demonic, warfare and in their life. And I can even hear it sometimes, the things people are saying or speaking over what they're doing, and then their family's chaotic, or their life's chaotic, or their physical health's chaotic. And I'm like, there's probably a good chance that there's an open door. And I have been that person.
Yeah.
I have been that person. I have done these things.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I was a Christian growing up and not even knowing. And I didn't do the full extent of the occult and whatnot. But we have met believers who were, and they were able to come out of it and find Jesus. And they are so, I would say, fired up to make sure everyone gets eyes to see, because of how much blinding is happening. And I do love that we're ending again here, because we are a part of an army of the highest level. It is the best army in the world. And I'm not talking about America or China, whatever it is. It is literally a spiritual thing. And it's so important to know that, because people don't, it seems so fantasy to people, or that it's, that again, hush, hush. We grew up in churches that were more hush. We don't talk about those things. Mm-hmm. So I learned to bring fear to it. And I think there's power actually in our authority, that there isn't fear, but it's important to be knowledgeable.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you don't even know. There's things in our houses that people are just, surrounded by it.
Yeah.
And there's charged objects, there's charged, even the energy after what has happened in our nation. I said there's a charged spiritual feeling, and that's what people are feeling. And it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because we're on the winning side, but more people need to get on that side.
Yeah.
And even believers that believe in God, but they don't even see it, and they're practicing and worshiping other gods, not even noticing it.
Yeah.
So,
yep. I think it's perfect segue.
yeah. So thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we're excited for next week's episode. So stay tuned for that.
It's going to be good.
All right.
Bye.